this is an example of the finished product of the cutting board. Notice here that the cutting board has 13 small strips of wood that are all glued together. So the very first stage of creating this cutting board is taking our rough cut lumber, okay, and using measurement devices like a tape measure and our square that we already pre-marked for you to figure out how many strips we can get out of each piece of wood. So the first thing you want to do is actually search through the scrap pile that's down here underneath the upcut saw to see if there are any scrap pieces that are longer than 16 inches. Okay, because that is what we are going to cut these to. If there's pieces that are longer than 16 inches, use the scrap wood before you get a brand new board from the wood loft. Okay, so this scrap wood here is over 16 inches. I'm then going to take my square that is pre-marked, and I'm going to put that up against the edge, and I'm going to line this edge of it with the edge of the board. So notice you can loosen this, and this will slide back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to make this edge lined up with here, and this is right up against the board as well. Now notice this edge right here is not the nicest. Okay, since this is the very beginning of the board, we added a little bit of extra space here to accommodate for that piece. Okay, so you want to see how many you can actually fit in here, how many full strips. So in this one, obviously you can only fit 3 full strips. Okay, so I will take this board and I'm going to put that in the upcut saw. Now notice this bit right here still isn't the nicest. Okay, so I might want to take this nice end and put that in first, because my 16 inches would be about here, and all of that would get thrown out. So I'll take this and slide this in here, slide it all the way over, okay, until it hits the stopping block. Now notice the power is not on. My air might be on, but the power is not on. The machine is not running yet. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to loosen this and slide this back until the line is even with 16 inches. Then I'm going to tighten this by twisting in opposite directions, making sure that this is staying on here and it's not moving. Okay? Now I'm going to push this board all the way over until I hit my stopping block. Notice I'm never putting my hand in there, because that is where the blade is. Even if the power is off, you still should not do that. Okay? Now I will turn the power on. Now with the area clear, nobody's hands are there. There is a double push button for safety right here to cut. So when you press both of those in, it will cut. Now coming back over here, I will pull this out. Okay, and that is my board. I'm going to turn the machine off, and one person in your group should be over here, and they should be talking to the person who measured, and they should be writing down how much you can get out of this board. So I'm going to write this down here on the end, and I'm going to write 3, because that's how much I could get out. So this person who's writing down should also be good at math, because they're going to have to be adding, okay, each board to figure out how many we need in total to keep that running tally in their head. Now, we need individually, so each person needs a total of 13 strips. You might want to make an extra 1 or 2 just in case. The next thing we are going to do is to edge joint our boards. So pick the best edge. If you have something that has this on it, okay, you want the opposite edge. This is the better edge than this. Now, if it is shorter than this backstop, you're going to want to use a push stick, okay? You're going to want to put your left hand here and the push stick back here, keeping down and pushing across. Okay, this is edge joining. If this board is bigger than that backstop, you can just do it by hand. Just watch your fingers aren't hanging all the way down here, okay? Behind this guard are the teeth. Now, every time this goes over, it's going to cut 1/16 of an inch off. You're going to do it until each edge is perfectly straight. So here's an example. Turn it on, take my push stick, put this up against, take my left hand and put it here, and the push stick on the back. I'm pushing down firmly and I'm pushing across. And I'm pushing all the way out until the guard went back and it's safe to grab the board. Now you can check your board. If it is perfectly smooth on the first time, like this one is, this is good. If there's still little nicks in here, little pieces that might not have actually got cut, then cut it one more time on this, okay? And this is on the joiner. Once you have all of your boards edge jointed with the best edge, you can line them all up so the best edge is all on the same side. I make that on the right side because over here at the table saw, that best edge that has been edge joined is going to go up against the fence. You need to set your measurement to 1 5/8. Then lock it in. You also need to lift the guard and see if the blade is higher than the piece of wood. In order to change that, you need to spin this knob down here to the right, and it will raise the blade up. So you're going to continue to spin this until this is raised up, so the gullies here are a little bit higher than the actual piece of wood. Once that's like that, you can tighten the knob. You can put the guard down, and take your jointed side, put it up against the fence, push stick in my right hand, turn the table saw on, and I'm going to slowly feed this board up, keeping this still pressed down and in up against the fence, using my right hand to press, and then putting the push stick on the back and pushing through. So you should have somebody back there to actually catch this. So that person would catch this, put it on a cart or over here on the table, and they would take this board and pull it straight back. And if I could fit another strip out of this, they would hand it back to me. Put this up against again and do the same process. Push it all the way through. They would grab that. They could take this little strap piece, pull that straight back and throw that out. And you're going to do this until each of you have 13 strips and you have a couple extra for your group as well. Once I have all of my boards cut on the table saw, I'm going to bring them over to the workbench that's closest to the planer, and I'm going to take my dial caliper here and I'm going to measure some of the boards, and I'm going to remember this measurement, so that's 1.06. Do it on another one. And this is 1.10, so this is obviously bigger. Do it on a few of them, and your biggest board is going to be the measurement that we are going to set the machine to. So since I was at 1.10, I'll turn around to the planer, and I can kind of look at this chart here and figure out where my decimals were. So obviously this only goes up to 1 inch, but I'm considering, or I'm looking at the 0.10. So find where that would fall into. That would be right around here. So that's 7/64. We can take this down to 1/16. Okay, 1/16. So I would need to set this to 1 1/16 for my first pass. I also need to make sure that this over here on the side, this bar is changed to 0.04 for the first run. Okay. Now my measurement is over here, and this will actually change that. So I'm looking right at the top of this, and I need to move this down to 1 and then 1/16. Okay. Now I'm going to take my boards and I'm going to put them through here. Notice on the inside you can see the teeth. Okay? So the top of it is what's going to get cut. So I'm going to take my boards, and I would have one person on the other side with a cart, and I'm going to put one in at a time. When I place it in, I'm going to put one hand, my left hand, sideways. Not this way, because your fingers can get stuck. This way, to hold down. Okay, if you don't hold down, it's going to move. My right hand is going to push in. So I'm just going to be feeding it in like that. Okay. Turn it on, hold down, and press in. Okay, now the other person would be taking this board, putting it on the cart. So you're going to have a lot of these to do. Notice it took a little bit off the first time. Okay, I'm going to do that for all of my boards, put them all through. The second time, however, I'm going to come over here, and I'm now going to change this to 0.02. Okay, that makes a little bit of a finer cut. And I'm going to come over here where this measurement is, and I'm going to spin this one time around to go up 1/16 of an inch. We are going to do this, putting them all through, ugly side up each time, until you get all the way up to 13/16. Remember, 12/16 is also reduced to 3/4. So 13/16 is right here. You are going to put each board through, moving up 1/16 at a time. So I can only put this one through right now at 1 inch. I can't go all the way up to 13/16. Since this went through, I'm going to put nice side down, ugly side up. Okay, much nicer cut. I'm going to continue to do this with all of my boards until they all are planed down to 13/16. Once you have taken your lumber cran and you've covered all of the boards, just back and forth on both sides, you're going to bring them over to the wide belt sander. Okay, and to turn the wide belt sander on, we need to press this lever down. That lever adds airflow into the system. Over here on the left, you can hit the start button to turn the system on. Notice the light turns on. Okay. You're going to have one of your partners on the back side with a cart. They're kind of playing defense as the boards come through. They need to be catching the boards and keeping them on this cart. Over here on the system, notice we have our measurement and we have our down. You can kind of see the arrows. And our up, okay, to make the table go up or down. You have your roller on and off. So if I press this on button, notice the roller starts moving. If I want to turn that off, I can turn that off like this. And this is the sanding belt to turn that on. Before we go ahead and turn this on, we want to set our measurement, and we need to know that measurement by measuring our board. So we'll grab the dial caliper that's up here. We'll bring that down and we will measure our board. Now, after you bring it out of the planer, majority of your boards, almost every single one of your boards, should be anywhere from about 0.79 to 0.73. Okay, that little bit of measurement difference there is how much up or down the line was, or the measurement was on the planer. So now that we know our measurement, these boards are all 0.83. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to hit the up button and change this to go all the way up to that measurement. Okay, so I'm at 0.83. Basically, you don't really need to pay attention to this too much. If you want to get into the rounding, you can, but you can kind of look at it like that. Okay, so I'm at 0.83 right now. So I can now turn the system on. Watch when I press this, you're going to see the bar spike, stay there for a little bit, drop back down, and then the system's going to catch up to speed, it'll spike again, and that'll turn on. So notice the light's off, it's spiking, it's going to drop, and then once it catches up, this is going to turn on. So system's ready to go. So I'll turn my roller on, can lay my boards all out, ugly side up, and I'm gonna push them through. Notice how many I put on at once. So they're gonna start sanding, and over here, if I get these moving, by pulling them back, they will shoot off onto the cart. Okay? So, you'll keep pushing the boards through, and when you're all the way done, you'll wheel the cart the whole way around. Okay? And now we can change our measurement. Now we're at 0.83. We want to go down to 0.82. So 0.1 down each time. Until we get to 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch. So you're going to sand all of your boards on both sides, so both sides are completely smooth until you get to 0.75. Now that I have all of my boards sanded on both sides, so they're perfectly smooth, I'm going to bring them over to the gluing table. I'm going to put 2 different bars down. I'm going to lay all of my 13 pieces out, and I'm going to lay them out flat, not standing straight up. I'm going to lay them out flat. That's going to allow us to take a glue bottle and put a whole bunch of glue the whole way across all of them. Okay. Now I can go back a little bit this way, and you don't want to make a massive mess, but you're definitely going to need some glue to cover everything. Okay. Now notice on the very last board, I left that empty, all right, or I almost did. You're going to want to try to leave that last board empty, and you're going to see why. I'm going to take the second board and I'm going to stack that up on top of the first one with the glue still facing up. I'm going to move this back and forth to try to work the glue in. Now I can kind of pull these 2 boards apart to see if there's any spots that didn't get glue. If there's no spots, then you're good. But if there are some spots that still need some glue, put a little bit more there. Okay, you want this fully glued together, no dry pockets in there. So now that that's all worked in, now I can grab the next board and do the same. And I'm going to continue this pattern until I'm about, maybe about 6 or 7 boards tall. Once you get past 6 or 7 boards tall, you're going to find that this is going to start kind of shifting and almost falling over because of all the glue. Okay, so I will make 6 or 7 boards tall here, and then I'll start another pile. So now that I have my stack of 6 and my stack of 7 with that one board that doesn't have any glue on it, I'm going to turn these. So I'm going to grab the whole entire stack and turn it sideways. Grab this stack as well and turn it sideways. Then I'm going to press these 2 stacks together, and I'm going to try to take those middle boards and work the glue together a little bit. Now this is definitely going to be messy. It might not even turn out as good as this one is here, but I am going to try then to align all of these. Okay, so one side, and you got to work quick because the glue starts to set up quick. Okay, so notice I just did this with my hand. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to want to try to have one side as straight as possible. You can do this with another board, so I could take another scrap piece of wood, put it here, and push into it. That will work as well. But then I'm going to take my clamp, move that all the way down. Okay. Move this all the way down as well. And the common mistake here would be to tighten this. If you tighten it, boards are going to start to shift. So I'm going to take one extra bar, put it on top this way. And now with that bar on top, I'm going to press down, and I'm going to tighten this one up just a little bit so it's kind of snug. That holds all the boards down. Then you can work each side. So I'll tighten this just a little, tighten this a little. Okay, and then you can work your way around by tightening them all. So I've got all these tight. All right. Notice glue is starting to come out in between the boards. That means it's a nice tight seal in there. You can flip this over So the side that's more exposed, I'll take a piece of paper and I'm going to write my name, our period, and our group number on it, and I'm just going to put that piece of paper right down here on the glue, so that once these are done drying, I know whose project it is, what period, and what group you're in. Okay? Once that is all done, then you can move this to the place for these to dry. My cutting board is all glued together. I can take this piece of paper and rip it off the best that you can. Sometimes it comes off easily, sometimes it doesn't at all. Okay? So, what I also have here is a scraper, and I have what's called a bench dog. Okay? You're going to put the bottom of the bench dog in the hole on the table. You're going to lift this up on the vise, and the vise, most of them in the shop, either get pulled backwards like this, or they just slide back. This is going to go right up against the bench dog here, and then this piece that's up, when I twist this vise in, is going to pinch up against, and it's going to hold this down tight. Now this cannot move. Okay. I'm going to take the scraper, and you have to be careful because you can cut yourself with this. I like to take my hand and turn it sideways so I can put my arm straight and press down on it. Use your weight. Don't try to pull with your arms. Okay? Use your weight to push down. What you're trying to do here is scrape off as much glue as possible so that the machine can cut through this wood a little bit easier. So push straight down and pull. Okay? And you're going to constantly do this until you have as much glue off as you possibly can. Now notice all of these pieces here are nice and smooth, so it's a little bit hard to scrape them off. Anything that was clumped up came right off. So once one side's good, you're going to loosen this, flip it over, and you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So this is good. Now that I have this scraped off on both sides, I'm going to grab the dial caliper. I'm going to measure the thickness here, okay? And what I got on mine was 1.67. Everybody's is going to vary a little bit. Also, if your boards are kind of up and down all over the place, you're going to want to try to go in between where it's down and up so that you pinch. And you notice your measurement's going to be much bigger. So this measurement is 1.76. That's the measurement that I want to start with, okay? 1.76. So if I come over here and I look at this decimal conversion chart, 0.76 is right about here. So that's real close to 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to start out at 1.75. Okay? So I'll change here on the planer so that I am at 1 3/4 of an inch. So that's way down here. Okay? On this side of the planer, I'm going to make sure that this is at 0.04 for my first time through on both sides, and then all my other cuts can be at 0.02. So 0.04. I'll take my board, turn it on, put my hand sideways, press down, and push in. Okay? Now it took off a lot of the glue, but it's real bumpy. So now I'm going to spin this one time around. So I spin this one time around, and that went up one mark. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the other side now. Okay? Now you see there's still glue on here. I'm going to now change this to 0.02, and I'm going to have to spin this one more time around. So each time I spin it, I'm going up 1/16 of an inch. Now I'm going to continue to do this until it's smooth on both sides. Now if you're working in a small group, it's much easier if everybody continues to go until the last person has no more glue. Okay, there is no set measurement for the thickness here. It's just until it's nice and smooth and there's no glue left. When you're all the way done and both sides are nice and neat, there's no glue on it, I'm going to grab the dial caliper once again, measure the thickness, and now what you have, so I have 1.37, so there's no need to convert this, because when I come over to the sander is also on decimals. So I'm going to turn the sander on. In order to do that, you need to have the air down, and then you can press the start button, and now I can raise my bed up to what I need. So I was at 1.37. Might take you a little bit to get there. Okay. Then I can grab a lumber crayon if I haven't already, and I'm going to lumber crayon both sides. So lumber crayons are over here. You can grab a lumber crayon, take it, and lumber crayon both sides. Now this lumber crayon allows us to kind of see if there's any dips, okay, dips in the wood. So by sanding off the lumber crayon, then we know we got all of the dips in the wood, so it's nice and flat. So now I'm going to turn my roller on, and turn the machine on. And remember, this is going to spike, and it's going to drop, and then once it's up to speed, it's now going to turn that on. So now I'm good to go. I can press this through. And remember, if you worked in a big group, it's a lot easier because all of yours should be the same measurement. So sand both sides until it's perfectly smooth and there's no more lumber crayon. Once again, no set measurement. Once I have edge jointed both sides, I'm going to come over to the compound miter saw, and I need to make sure that this has the ability to slide out. Okay? Currently it's locked. So on the right side of it, way back here, there's this small knob, and if you twist that, now it loosens this and it allows you to slide out. So you're going to notice when I cut, I'm going to be all the way out here first, cut down, and then slide back. Okay? The reason why I do that is because I personally don't like to cut and pull a moving blade towards my body. I would much rather push that moving blade away from my body. Okay? So notice this edge here is not real straight. So I'm going to put this in until the blade's kind of even with that last little one. All right, so notice there it's only going to take off a little bit. And I'm going to start way out here, and I'm going to straighten this edge out. Okay, so notice I came down and I went straight back. Okay, nice smooth cut. Take your time. You don't need to plunge through and move. And I had my left hand here holding firmly down and back, and my right hand was using it. Now I'm going to slide this over, and I'm going to set this to 15 inches. And I'm going to slide this over until it hits right here. And now this is going to feel awkward if you're right-handed, but you're going to switch hands, and you're going to use your right hand now to press down and back. And I'm going to use my left hand to cut. So I'll bring this out here, go down, and back. And now I have a perfect rectangular cutting board. Okay. Now that your cutting board is cut down to size, you can bring it over to the router where there is a really small bit attached here. This bit is a 1/8 inch round over bit. So it's just going to slightly round these corners, not a huge round, but just a small little round. You can look up here and you can make sure that this air gate is open. And what we are going to do is we are literally going to round over every single edge, even these little ones here. Okay, I like to do those little ones first. So in order to do that, you have to stand this up and you have to hold it like that. we're going to take this across. Okay, we'll rotate it around. We'll do the other corner, flip it over, same thing, same thing. Then you can do the long piece and rotate it right around, and you can do the small end, the other long end, the other small end, flip it over and repeat that process. Okay? So watch how I do this. Holding it straight up to start, turn it on, hold it firmly up against the fence. Okay, you can see that little round over. I didn't get that edge. Okay, so I got all 4 corners. Now I'm going to do the whole bottom. Flip it over, and I'm going to do this side. Same process. Now at the very end, you're going to have these little tiny points right here in the corner. So what you do with the point is you just stick it right into the blade and rotate it around. And all it does is it just lops off that little corner. Okay, so right into the blade and just rotate around. And it literally feels like you're doing nothing, but you're just taking that small little bit off. And you can do that to both sides of every corner. And then you're good for sanding. When I'm ready to sand, I can grab my orbital sander, or oscillating sander. I'm going to take a hose, plug it in there, the other end into the manifold. I'm also going to have to plug my shop vac in here and the hand sander itself. Notice I got a piece of carpet. This is a clean piece of carpet, okay, not one that already had paint on it. I also opened up my vice grip. Now I can sand all of this on the carpet. The carpet keeps it from getting scratched from whatever might be on the table. Well, when you're trying to do these ends, it's really hard to sand because this would wobble all over the place. So that's why I got the carpet. I'm going to turn this, put it right over my vice grip. I'm going to take the end of it and just push down in. Okay? Now I can clamp this, and when I clamp it, you don't have metal up against your board. You have a soft piece of carpet. And that allows me to sand this side. It also allows me to sand this. Okay, so once everything is sanded all the way up to 320, I can also get the name punches, okay, or these letter punches. With the letter punches, you'll see on all of them that they're going to have one side that is painted, okay, one side that is painted. You do need to double check this, but I believe the side that is painted should be facing you. Now, when I say I believe that, I know some of them might have paint on 2 sides. That's why I want you to double check. But you will get the side that's painted, and here on the side of your board or on your end grain, whatever you choose, I'd like you to line that up and take a hammer and punch your name into it, 1 letter at a time.